she's lying, right? We all know. Like,
they say tennis is a game of grace. But what happens when elegance becomes a mask, hiding the darkest instincts of competition? Behind the clean white skirts, polite applause, and perfect forehands, there exists another world. A world where desperation meets brilliance, where the rules bend under the weight of ambition. A welcome to the shadow side of women's tennis, the side few dare to talk about. Tennis, especially in the WTA, is supposed to be about discipline and respect, but sometimes that respect fades the moment a match turns sour. When sweat meets fear and pride outweighs pain, even the calmest player can turn cunning. Some call it survival instinct, others pure manipulation. Take Diana Yastremska, for instance. Once hailed as Ukraine's rising star, she became notorious not for her forehands, but for her timeouts, medical breaks that always seemed to come when she was losing. In one match, her opponent led 5-2 in the final set, seconds from victory, when Yastremska suddenly clutched her leg and called for a trainer. 4 long minutes passed. Her rival's rhythm vanished. When play resumed, Yastremska looked rejuvenated and won. But her luck didn't always hold. At the 2020 Australian Open facing the ever-calm Caroline Wozniacki, she tried the same trick again. Up 5-4, she stopped the game for a 6-minute injury. Yet when she returned, Wozniacki dismantled her point by point. Later, the Dane didn't hold back. She wasn't injured, she just wanted to break my rhythm. That's not tennis. Is it cheating or simply smart use of the rules? That's the eternal debate. In a sport where margins are thinner than a hair, breaking momentum is as deadly as breaking serve. Maybe Yastremska wasn't faking, maybe she was just smarter than most. But the pattern doesn't end there. Similar stories echo across locker rooms and headlines. Jelena Ostapenko once faced Ejla Tomljanovic at Wimbledon. Losing badly, she called for a medical timeout. Her opponent accused her of faking it. "It's disgraceful!" And the two nearly came to blows at the net. Cameras captured the venom in their eyes. The crowd gasped. Social media erupted. Wimbledon's polite air was ripped open by raw emotion. And yet, isn't that what we crave as fans? We want the fire, the fury, the humanity. We pretend to love elegance, but what we truly watch for are cracks in perfection. The moments when stars stop being idols and become real, flawed people fighting to survive. Every great player knows tennis isn't just played with rackets, it's played with the mind. Medical breaks, arguments, exaggerated grunts, icy stares, they're all part of a larger war. A war that doesn't happen on the scoreboard, but inside the human heart. Because when the spotlight burns hot and millions watch your every move, grace becomes a luxury, and survival an instinct. It was supposed to be the proudest day of her young career, a breakthrough moment every aspiring player dreams of. But for Anne-Marie Toth, that moment in Budapest 2023 would instead become a symbol of everything ugly about the game she loved. The clay court glowed in the afternoon sun. The air was heavy, thick with tension. On the other side of the net stood Zhang Shuai, the experienced Chinese veteran, calm and composed, until one single point changed everything. Zhang's forehand landed close to the line. The umpire called it out. Zhang, confident it was in, walked over to check the ball mark, as players often do on clay. She pointed to the mark. Clear, visible. But before she could finish her appeal, Toth bent down and erased the mark with her shoe. For a moment, the crowd didn't even realize what had happened. Then a collective gasp swept through the stands. Zhang froze. Her face turned pale. Words failed her. The umpire stayed silent. Toth walked away as if nothing happened. It was a gesture that lasted 2 seconds, but it destroyed her reputation forever. Zhang tried to continue, but her breathing grew uneven. Panic set in. Minutes later, shaking and tearful, she retired from the match. Toth raised her arms in victory, smiling broadly, as if nothing tragic had occurred. Cameras flashed. The audience booed. Within hours, the internet exploded. Twitter and Instagram were flooded with anger. Disgusting. Unsportsmanlike. The worst behavior ever seen on court. Even fellow WTA players joined in, defending Zhang and condemning Toth. Toth, barely 20 years old, suddenly found herself at the center of a global storm. Headlines called her the villain of Budapest. Sponsors distanced themselves. And though she later apologized, saying she never meant to disrespect anyone, the damage was irreversible. Her first WTA win had turned into an international scandal. But what drove her to do it? Was it arrogance, immaturity, or just blind adrenaline? The madness that comes when victory is so close you can taste it, pressure can twist the mind. In those seconds, perhaps Toth wasn't thinking at all. She was just acting on impulse. The same instinct that drives every athlete to survive, to conquer, to win at any cost. And yet, there's something haunting about that scene. The young victor celebrating while her opponent walks away in tears. The roar of the crowd mixing with the eerie silence of shame. It was more than just bad sportsmanship. It was the moment when winning lost its meaning. Because true champions rise above chaos, and when you erase fairness for the sake of triumph, you erase yourself in the process. In tennis, the battle doesn't end with the serve. It only begins there. Because the real war, the one that separates champions from the forgotten, happens in the shadows of the mind. Every glance, every gesture, every pause between points can become a weapon. Some players wield these weapons openly. Others hide them behind a smile. Take the so-called grunting warriors. It's not officially illegal to scream when you hit the ball, but over the years it's become one of the sport's most controversial tools. Maria Sharapova, Victoria Azarenka, Michelle Larcher de Brito, all accused of using their powerful, piercing shrieks as a kind of sonic intimidation. Their grunts echoed through stadiums, breaking the opponent's concentration like a drumbeat of dominance. Is it just natural exertion, or a calculated form of psychological warfare? Then there are the gesture games, subtle movements that distract, unsettle, or provoke. At the 2022 San Diego Open, a top player raised her hand mid-rally, just as her opponent prepared to strike. The timing was so odd, so perfectly disruptive, that commentators called it a move straight out of a magician's playbook. Was it instinct or manipulation? No one could tell. But one thing was clear. It worked. The opponent missed, the point was lost, and a debate was born. And of course, the infamous medical timeout strategy, the invisible wall of tennis. No rule forbids it, yet everyone knows the feeling. Just when you're building rhythm, your rival halts the game, calls for a trainer, sits down, breathes, resets. You wait, nerves trembling, momentum gone. When play resumes, you're no longer the same. Ostapenko did it at Wimbledon against Tomljanovic, triggering a furious on-court argument. Tomljanovic accused her of faking injury. Ostapenko fired back that her opponent was disrespectful. The audience didn't know who to believe, but they couldn't look away. It was reality TV disguised as sport. That's the truth about modern tennis. It's part theater, part warfare. Every serve is a statement, every pause a gamble. Players are no longer just athletes. They are tacticians, psychologists, and actors performing under unbearable pressure. They don't simply play against each other, they play against perception itself. And yet, here's the paradox. These tactics, as ugly as they seem, are born from the same fire that creates greatness. When your heart races about 180 beats per minute, and a single mistake can erase years of training, morality becomes flexible. The line between genius and disgrace blurs. So when a player screams, stalls, or stares down her rival, maybe it's not cheating. Maybe it's the human soul cracking under perfection, revealing what we all are when the mask of grace slips. They say the toughest opponent in tennis isn't the person across the net. It's the voice inside your own head. That whisper that says don't choke, don't miss, don't lose everything you've worked for. Every player hears it, but only a few can silence it. Modern tennis has tried to tame that chaos. The WTA and ITF have introduced time limits, medical break rules, and even electronic line calls to keep things clean. But no rulebook can regulate fear, pride, or desperation. When a match reaches its boiling point, the human heart always finds its own way to break the rules. Emotionally, if not literally, and maybe that's why we watch. Because tennis isn't really about perfect serves or textbook forehands. It's about the crack beneath the surface. It's about the moment when poise gives way to panic, when strategy turns into instinct, when victory tastes like guilt. Every grunt, every argument, every tear at the net tells a story of pressure no one else can see. Think of Victoria Azarenka, trembling after a clash with Sloane Stephens, or Serena Williams, shouting at umpires in fury and frustration, or even Naomi Osaka quietly leaving the court in tears, crushed not by defeat but by the weight of the spotlight. They're not villains, they're human. And that's the paradox. We idolize their perfection but connect with their flaws. Behind every controversy lies something deeper. The truth that greatness always walks hand in hand with madness. The very intensity that makes a champion also threatens to consume them. When Omarisatov wiped away that ball mark, when Yastremska took that timeout, when Ostapenko argued under the lights, they weren't just breaking etiquette. They were revealing the terrifying cost of ambition. Because to win at this level, you can't just be strong. You must be relentless. You must silence empathy, at least for a moment. And that's what makes sport so painfully beautiful. It shows us how fragile we really are when everything is on the line. So next time you watch a match, when a player screams too loud, or argues a call, or takes a suspicious pause, don't just see controversy. See the human behind it. See the fear, the pride, the hunger. Because in the end, tennis isn't a sport of saints. It's a theater of souls. And perhaps that's what keeps us watching. So what do you think? Is gamesmanship just clever strategy? Or is it the slow death of sportsmanship? Tell me in the comments where you draw the line between passion and manipulation. If this story made you see the game differently, hit like, share it with someone who loves tennis, and subscribe for more untold stories from the hidden corners of sport, where grace meets chaos.